What up, everybody? Patrick Kia Warehouse. So I bought a hatch from a junkyard, been sitting a long time. I'm gonna try to see. I don't know that I'll get it to run, but it's possible if I start with some brake clean. But got some keys for it. There we go. So of course it had to be in the junkyard for a reason. So I went ahead and I took the timing belt off, or the cover off. Timing belt's intact. Actually everything looks pretty good, but you can tell like there hasn't been oil there in a long time. So we're going to make sure we let the engine turn over a couple times, build oil pressure before we try to start it. I don't know that this key's going to work, but we're going to try it. Keep forgetting about that molding. It's going to ruin my fender if I'm not careful. So cool, key works, that's good. So now we're going to put a jump box on it. I see this here, push button start, it looks like, which is fine as long as it works. But let's do as old Vice Grip Garage says, we're going to do a fire test. So we're going to hook a battery up to it, turn the key on, look for stuff to smoke. I noticed the radiator has been robbed. The fuel line from the filter to the fuel rail is gone, which I have a plethora of that stuff. That's not a problem. So there shouldn't be anything in there to let it run right now. Spark plugs or the plug wires are unplugged. Like I said, I'm just going to try and get it to rotate, get some oil pressure, clean cylinders. I was able to turn the motor by pulling the alternator belt. But here's the thing, it's going to sound like it has low compression because it's been sitting for so long. And even if it does have low compression, like we'll put a motor in it, but it'd be cool if this one worked. I'm going to go look at the plate and see if I can tell when the last time this was on the road. Check. Dang, August of 2006 it looks like. So another one been sitting for 20 years, which is fine because I've had some others that way here lately. I think that blue wagon I did a video on, it was 20 years as well, so it started up fine. All right, so we got the battery hooked up. Let's see if any lights come on in the dash. Fingers crossed, here we go. Oh yeah. Oh, I even heard the main relay click. No fuel pump, of course, but turn it, nothing happens. Oh, their radio's working. Old school tape deck. So the ignition switch is definitely a problem. But let's see what this push button does. Oh, it's in gear too. Oh, that's the horn. Never mind. I thought that was the push button. So makes sense now. This is not the factory steering wheel. Doesn't have cruise controls. But I think this is an EX sedan steering wheel. Rough ass shape. Most Honda people know what this is. They're usually green and in much better shape, but that's what happens to them. So there's the green, some of it there and some of it there. So I'm sure the brake light switch and neutral safety switch is gone. There went the rest of it, just fell. So we'll put something in there, make sure that it works. Tail lights should be on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they are on. So one of the little tips in there is what controls the brake lights, and they're on. So it means the little the brake switch works, but the part that turns the lights off is broken. So we'll replace that, and we'll go ahead and get one for the neutral too. Nothing's smoking, so that's a good sign. But again, I'm just trying to turn it over. I'm gonna let the engine kind of free spin, let it get some oil pressure, and then after we do that, we will put some starting fluid just to see if it'll hit, and then if not, I'll check spark. Distributors are pretty common. I think the ignition switch is bad already. I can kind of see that. These are the clips that I usually use, so we're gonna stick those in there. All right, so we got the brake switch figured out. So now let's try the neutral safety switch, see what happens. Got nothing. Like I said, the neutral, see, the ignition switch is acting a little wonky, so we're maybe just going to jump to starter so we don't have to mess with that. Yeah, like it keeps freaking out. Okay, so I'll get a piece of wire. I'm going to mess this fender up, so I'm going to go ahead and take this molding off. So I know I'm going to mess it up, so I'm going to go ahead and start popping the clips off so I don't ruin the fender. I've already bent it in, so it's salvageable now, but usually you forget one time and freaking destroy that fender. So it wasn't like that when we were there, but the guys pulling it out kind of messed with it, and that's where we are. So I know the clips are going to break, and that's fine. And I think there's an 8mm on the inside that breaks. That's fine. I've got fixes for all that. I just don't want to ruin the fender. All right, so I figured the neutral safety switch out. Go. I'm going to put a fresh battery on it and the jump box. Maybe give it a little more voltage. Let it turn over a little faster, hopefully. Then I'm going to look down the oil cap, see if there's fresh oil in there, make sure the pump is pumping it up there, and then we'll shoot a little brake cleaner in there. See if it hits. Like I said, it may not, but we'll try it anyway. Something else I just thought of is I think I'm going to go ahead and take the spark plugs out, because it does seem to be building compression, but it hasn't ran in so long. I want to make sure that there's plenty of oil in the system. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the spark plugs out. That way the engine will spin more freely, and then I can get oil up to the top of the engine if it's going to. Like the compression that's there, of course, is it's putting a load on the starter, but if I take the plugs out, there's no resistance, so it should free spin, and then I should be able to build oil pressure that way. So we're going to do that real quick, see what happens. I want to say I definitely don't recommend using an impact to take spark plugs out, but I do it. This could be the one time one breaks, but it usually doesn't. Now, I definitely don't use them and put them back in, but like I said, I'm just trying to get them out, dang it, so we can have the engine free spin a little better. Go, and then I guess this will give us a sign too. We can see what the plugs look like. Oh, that one stayed down in there. Cool. So let's try. May have to get a magnet, but okay. Watch them be auto lights. That's why it's in the damn junkyard. Always, always, always. Yes, auto lights are cheap, but they don't work. So I'm gonna stop this video. I'll start another one. I'm gonna try and put it all together on YouTube, but for TikTok, 7 minutes, probably too long, really. Nobody's gonna stay that long, but I'm doing it anyway. Part 2 of the hatch getting going. We just found auto light spark plugs in it, which these cars hate auto light spark plugs, and they also, honestly, they only love NGK, but like the plugs don't look awful. Let me show you. They're black, of course, because these plugs suck and valve cover gasket leaking, but still not awful. All the plugs are out. Now we're going to go in here, let it free spin, try to build oil pressure. Like I said, we'll look down in the valve cover. I think I'll put some ATF in there, actually, now I think about it. All right, so I poured a little ATF down in it just because it's thinner, and if there's a passage or something, hopefully it'll clean, because ATF is a detergent. Put a little bit in the cylinders too, which this is going to shoot it out because there's no spark plugs. But oh yeah, that's what we're after. Free spin. Try and get some oil pressure. It's going to hold it for, try 10 seconds. Let's see what happens here. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we'll go look and see if there's oil moved around. Crazy that radio works. Just poured it in there, so it's gonna be kind of hard to tell, but I mean, I really haven't had issues but one time, so I think we'll put some spark plugs in it and see what happens. I think that's the only thing we can do. Looks to be an original distributor, and that seal's gone, so I'm gonna bet this distributor's junk, but trying to think if I could test spark right now. It'd be cool, but I don't know where I put that piece at. This ignition switch is definitely bad. 100% it's bad. Make sure this is in neutral. There we go, in neutral. But ignition switch keeps jumping, but that was probably its problem all along. I'm gonna put a plug on one of the wires, see if we get any spark, and then I'll put plugs in it. So it had no spark, so I'm going to take this distributor off, swap it with the one and that one. I know it's good, and then see what happens from there. We will test it again, of course, because it could be a fuse or something I just haven't seen. But 88 to 91 Civics are pretty bad about distributors going bad. It's pretty common, so it's probably bad, especially seeing that seal's open. So either an igniter or something inside's gone bad. So I'm gonna swap it out and see what happens. Well, update, the ignition switch being bad, it turns itself off. Just tested spark that time, and then I came to make sure the key was on again, and it was off, but the key was on. So ignition switch is definitely bad, and I just tested spark again, made sure the key was on. I heard the seatbelt dinging, and I've got spark. So the distributor's good. I think the ignition switch is my main problem. So we're going to try to start it even though it's bad. Worst case, this one just has an ignition switch just hanging, and I used the distributor off this one because I just started this one, so I know it runs. But I have to put the distributor back because I think this one's good. Worst case, I'll rob this ignition switch. I may go ahead and do it because it's pretty easy to swap out. This ignition switch we robbed. Said it's just here for starting purposes. Stick a screwdriver in here. I'll turn it off. But let's see if I can show. It's hard to do. Much better. It doesn't turn itself off, so. Now we will go test spark again, so I can show you guys. We gotta make sure that it's close to ground there. It's right about on it. I don't know if it'll arc on that or not. We'll try it and see. Piece of copper wire here. There we go. Yeah. Got spark, so that's good. A little chilly out. Nose all red and running a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and put 4 NGKs back in it so we can just verify. And then, like I said, I'm gonna shoot a little brake clean or something in there, and hopefully it hits. So fingers crossed. There's our NGKs. Got 4 of them. All right, so we got some fresh NGKs in there. One thing I didn't do, which I should have, was made sure that all the plug wires work. I only made sure the one cylinder works, so we're just gonna see if we can get it to hit it all. So we're gonna put a little starting fluid in there, fire it up. I'm sure the gas tank's nasty. There's no fuel line going to it. The pump doesn't turn on, but I mean, it needs brake work and all kinds of stuff. So we're really just trying to see if the engine's any good. And so if it is, then I can, piece it together little at a time. I'll probably order a brand new tank. They still make them for hatchback. I'll order a tank with a pump and then just install it all at once. That way, even if it smokes or whatever, like, we know it's good and I can drive it around until I'm ready to swap it. So I want to multi-point swap this car and the other one. This one does not have an engine in it, and I have an engine to put in it, but I want to multi-point swap it. So I got to teach myself to do that first. But I'll have a nice one to keep, and then I'll sell one. So we're going to see what we can do here. This is still basically a carburetor, so we'll just hose it in there. It's got 2 injectors, which I'm sure they also are not any good. You can see it pouring out, but it should still fire off that little bit of brake clean, hopefully. Right, so tricky part, I guess. Gotta push the clutch in and turn this. There we go. Nothing. Nothing. I don't hear spark. Don't hear nothing. So I may need to check the other plug wires, or maybe go ahead and swap the whole distributor since I know it's good. I think that's what I'm gonna do. That's quick, 3 screws. So do that real quick. All right, so I'll swap the distributor out. Let's try it again. I didn't test it, but usually, sometimes these take a long time to get going. But with the brake clean or starting fluid, like, it should pick it up. Go. It does sound like it has low compression. Like, it should be hitting. I need somebody to shoot brake clean in it, so I think that's going to be it for right now. I'm going to take the top off so I can shoot brake clean straight into the injector. There's a little flap that usually keeps the stuff from going in. Try that real quick and then we'll end this video too. So actually, it's been like 7 minutes. So we'll go ahead and end this one. I'll do it on the next one. Part 3. So we're going to take the top off of this multi-point. I'm gonna grab a screwdriver. I'm gonna shoot fuel directly into it. Like I said, this is like a carburetor. It's got 2 injectors. Feed fuel off of themselves, but it's like an old carburetor. So it's like a TBI Chevy kind of is how I would describe it. But there's a little flap that's in the way if you're shooting it straight into the intake port. So we're gonna take this little cover off so we can shoot fuel straight down in it, because it does seem like it just runs out. So hold on a second. So it's got a little vacuum operated choke, but it's got a little hole in it, so we'll shoot some down there. It's probably way too much, and that's fine. Let's see what happens. I lost my screwdriver, which is what I need to turn the ignition switch. I just used it. It's always the way it works. Boom, there we go. I of course can do a compression test, which I probably should, but I'm just lazy and try to do it this way first. So stick the screwdriver in. Okay, here we go. See what happens. Something ain't right. I don't know that I'm getting spark. Oh, I never thought about it. Well, it has to have a computer or the check engine light wouldn't flash. But I need to check spark, I guess, again. See if I didn't do something right, or maybe one of the connectors didn't go, so dang it. All right, let's see what happens. Hold on. So I definitely had spark. Shocked me a little bit, but I noticed it's getting kind of weak and the engine was turning over kind of slow, and I think I run the battery down. So I'm gonna let the battery charge. Jump box wasn't fully charged either, so I've got both on charge, and then hopefully when I come back, I'm gonna do it on the same video, so it'll just be boom, we're back, and then we'll see what happens. But I think the voltage is too low. The spark that I was seeing was pretty weak, and the engine was turning over kind of slow, so hopefully when we come back, we just have a lack of spark issue, and hopefully it'll fire. We'll see, but that's where we're at for now. So I got Everett here helping me now. He's squirting a little bit in there. We're going to try it again. Got a fresh battery. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see some smoke. I've already run this battery dead, I think. So we got the jump box on it now. I'm going to try it again here. Get my redneck key switch here. Yo. Oh. Dang. Man, I'm gonna get throttle a little bit. She's about to start. Give her a spray. It's hitting. Come on, Betsy. Dang. She gonna do it. It's coming. I believe she's gonna start. So I did get it to hit. It kind of started. Sounded good, like good enough, and so I knew that it was gonna start, so I went ahead and put it in the garage. I knew the gas tank was junk, so pulled the gas tank out. Just super filthy in here from where they drug it out of the junkyard, but I pulled the tank. No real rust anywhere, like the bed line or the rock guard is coming off, which is fine. That'll sand out easy, but like there's no rust anywhere. I did find this tow hook has been pushed back, so I'm gonna have to put it on the trailer and bend this back out, and probably have to heat it and beat it with a hammer. So I've got to do that still. So it's got a little bit of a sag there, but I think I can straighten it up. And took the bumper and all that off because I noticed that tow hook. But I'm going to get the gas tank off of a parts car I got back there tomorrow. It's 9 o'clock, so I'm done for the night. But once I ever got here, we just was tackling stuff, so I didn't record anymore. But it did hit. Sorry, turn the lights off. Hit once or twice. And it sounds like it's going to run. So instead of just continuing to shoot carb clean or brake clean in there, we're just going to go ahead and I'll get a gas tank. I'll put some gas in it. Get the fuel line and stuff that it needs that's missing. At least I can get it mobile so I can move it around here because it needs every brake component. I mean, it needs, I'm sure, every caliper and all the drum hardware and stuff in the rear, which I'll deal with later. But once it's movable, like I can, it's easy to move around the house. And so it's not just a dead shell that has to be drug everywhere. That is the one I'm planning on keeping for my collection. So once it's mobile, I can just put it aside, because then I can just go and start it and move it wherever. Work on the brakes here and there. And then I'll get started on the ones I'm going to sell. But I also need to make sure that I keep the good parts for the one I'm going to keep. So, yeah. But that's it for today. Kind of tinkered and worked all day. So, that's it for now. So, maybe we'll do a little more tomorrow.